Hi, welcome to Home Farm. Today we're going to be reviewing this heavy-duty battery-operated strimmer from Stihl. This is the FSA 86R. Our strimming requirements are getting more and more intensive as we try and reclaim a lot of our wild field.
Yeah, because we are on a small holding and we have 2 acres. So we have a front garden near the house, near the farmhouse, and that's kind of almost like a manicured garden area. So it's got flower beds and that kind of thing. And then you come into this area, and as you can see behind us, we've got this wild, meadowy kind of grass area, which we don't really strim this. We only strim the edges just to keep a shape in shape. But then on this side of me is where I have the orchard. We have a vegetable garden, and then we have about an acre of wild field. And when I say wild, I mean, you know, some of the things in that field are much taller than we are.
Overgrown.
So we're slowly reclaiming the land. Every year we just take a little bit more. But around us, we've got an awful lot of wild overgrowth. So we've got everything from brambles to nettles to sapling trees to weeds weeds that are like 7 foot tall in places. So we really do have quite a diverse amount of things to strim and that we need to keep control of. So Stihl have very kindly loaned us this professional strimmer to try out, because we do have quite a lot of different areas that we can test it on, and different types of grasses and weeds that we can try it out on. So we're going to have quite a different amount of thicknesses of things that we can put it to the test on.
And I think what's really great about this is that it is a professional strimmer, and the fact that it's battery operated means that we don't have to run extension cords down to this portion where we're standing now. This is a good 100 meters away from the house. Some of the areas that we're going to be strimming are even further than that. So having something that's powerful and battery operated just gives you that mobility and freedom to be able to strim wherever you want to go to.
So because we do have a lot of wildlife around us here on the small holding, we do try and be as low impact and as environmentally friendly as possible. So we really don't like to use, or we don't use any petrol or diesel power tools. We really stick to electric or battery, just so that we're really not polluting any of the areas that we're kind of going into, because there's an awful lot of wildlife living here around us.
We've used this Stihl strimmer now to do a couple of different tasks around our small holding. And I've got to say, generally speaking, I've been incredibly impressed with it. It's an absolute beast of a strimmer. It doesn't matter what we throw at it. it has actually excelled. And that has been from your simple strimming jobs just around pieces of wood to doing edging. And the biggest task, which I actually did this morning, I went down to our compost heap where the pathway was incredibly overgrown, and it absolutely hacked through everything that's down there. So I've been really impressed with this trimmer.
So what was the battery life like?
The battery life was good. We got about a half hour out of the actual battery, which for a strimmer is actually quite reasonable, because 30 minutes of cutting, you're trimming a lot of area.
Was that 30 minutes of cutting thick brambles and things like that?
Yes, and
so the machine is working harder.
It is, and especially when, like I was trimming down by the compost heap today, there were a lot of reed type grasses. So every now and again, because it would cut through, they actually coil themselves around the actual strimmer head. And obviously the strimmer head is then working hard, so you've got to stop, pull the stuff out. But every time you have that tension, obviously it drains more battery quite quicker. And thank you to Charlie's Stores, who loaned us a fast charger for this particular battery. That means that the actual recharge time is reduced to about 20 minutes.
Wow.
Which is fantastic. So even if you are doing a lot of intensive strimming, you can just come inside, charge up the battery for 20 minutes, have a cup of tea, and then go back and keep going. So from that perspective, really good.
It's quite a long strimmer.
It is.
And I know that we've tried different strimmers, and for me, I'm 5'7", and I definitely feel more comfortable with some of the shorter strimmers. This, for me and my height, was probably a little bit too long. I kind of felt like it was just a little bit too far away, and not very comfortable. But for your height, how tall are you?
I'm 6'1", and I actually found the strimmer to be a very good length. And the other thing that I really liked about this trimmer is that even though it's quite long and you got the battery at the back, I found it to be very balanced. I've done a lot of strimming jobs in the past where I've had a half-hour session and your arms get a bit sore. With this one, even on the long strimming sessions, because it's so balanced, you never feel like you're taking strain on your wrists, on your elbows, on your shoulder.
Wow,
it's just very well balanced. They've obviously spent a lot of time just figuring out how to balance the actual strimmer head versus the battery to make it easy to hold.
And it is their professional range.
Yes.
And it does feel like it's, I don't know, a little bit more durable or a little bit more powerful, or there is something about it. If you didn't know, from me, if I just walked in and I would just try two different strimmers, I would definitely notice that this one is, kind of more premium or just, it's got more oomph to it, hasn't it?
It had a lot of power. As you said, we have had the opportunity now to play around with different strimmers. This is by far and away the most powerful one we've ever actually used. And actually, when I speak about the actual power, safety using the strimmer is an absolute priority. It comes with a set of plastic goggles, in the pack. Still actually sent us some additional ones. Plus they sent us some gloves and some ear muffs. And I've got to say that the goggles, you've just got to use them. I wore longs. Often during the summer, I will wear shorts. With these, it was longs, it was safety boots, it was the goggles, it was it was the full kit, because the amount of shrapnel that this strimmer kicks up is incredible.
And I would just emphasize that by saying that, there are times that, just because we're on our own property, we're in our own garden, and it is just the two of us, we don't have children or anything running around. We just do what we feel comfortable with. You kind of know you're kind of what you feel comfortable with, and I think that we're fairly sensible most of the time. There have been other times when I'm just trimming the back garden or something like that. There's no way that I'm going to be putting on goggles and things. I really don't need to. I'm literally just doing the edges of lawns, and there's nothing that's flying up at me. This one, absolutely 100%. It was absolutely, we really felt like we both needed it. And just from my perspective, I was filming you, and I was I was actually thinking in my own mind, like, how far am I away from you before you started to strim? And there were times when I was filming 3 meters away from you, and it was stuff was still hitting me, and stuff was still hitting me with force. So it wasn't just flying past me. I mean, it was you could almost feel it whipping you. The tiny bits of the grass and the blades were kind of whipping you, and so I would definitely say absolutely 100% take safety into consideration with this piece of kit,
especially when you're strimming around edges that have got firmer bits in there. So what I mean by that is we've got some bark areas, we've got some stone areas, and it doesn't actually matter what it went through, it would just kick up everything. I mean, there were some really large stones that just went flying. So, you know, the goggles and the safety boots, I think, are a must in terms of a starting point, because you know, your feet and your eyes are probably the two most areas that are going to be in most danger.
The only thing I would say is that it is a really good piece of equipment. It feels really powerful, and it definitely feels like it's a good investment. I think, you know, for people that are, you know, professional landscape or professional gardeners, or, you know, professional hedge trimmers, and you know, in that line of business, I just think it's a no-brainer. It's a really nice strimmer. I think for domestic use, I would just say, you know, if you're an experienced strimmer or experienced gardener and you're used to strimming and you've, you know, got that under your belt and you're very comfortable, then I think that, again, this is good, but just be cautious with health and safety. But I think for beginning and early gardeners or new gardeners, this is a little bit, how would I say, unforgiving with regards to, like, if you, it can literally tear through your lawn. Like, you can slice through stuff. So, I mean, you know, don't go near your prized peonies or anything.
Yeah, no, definitely.
With this, it'll literally massacre everything. So, you know, from my perspective, I'm not an experienced strimmer. Mars does most of the strimming here, and when I did try it, it was a little bit treacherous. So I definitely did it in an area where I wasn't going to cause too much damage to our garden. But I would definitely say, like, you know, just be aware of that this is a higher end, more experienced tool.
And on the back of that, I think if you've got a small garden, I think that this trimmer is complete overkill for that.
Yeah.
I think that this is intended more for a more rugged garden, something medium to even, like, we've got a small holding, so large, especially when you've got a lot of very thick grass that you've got to, or weeds that you want to tackle on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I think it's for that purpose. But if you've just got a small manicured garden that just needs a little bit of strimming and edging done, I do think that this particular strimmer will be overkill.
Yeah, definitely. But again, we go back to, you know, I think that if you're a professional gardener, you're going around doing lots of different gardens, if you're, you know, manning and looking after a park area or, you know, a large estate, it's a really good.
Fantastic. Part of the biggest investment when it comes to these trimmers is the battery. I just did a quick Google search in terms of pricing. The battery is probably half the price of the actual strimmer itself.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where you've got to commit to a brand and actually make sure, because these batteries are interchangeable with other products.
Yeah.
So if you're into Stihl and you know, you do want to get maybe the pole saw or some other of their gardening equipment, then this battery will be interchangeable with those, because the battery really is the biggest investment when it comes to this particular equipment.
But that's kind of across the board. We kind of found that with we kind of found that with all different brands and all different products that gardening, you know, power tools and things. You know, it is the battery that kind of almost kills you, but financially. But, you know, as you said, as long as you can use it in different in different tools, so as long as you have got, you know, maybe another chainsaw or you know, something else, and you know, but you are kind of buying into the brand at that stage, aren't you? So overall, would you recommend it?
I would definitely recommend it for people that need a powerful strimmer, something that's, you know, going to chew through weeds and heavy grass. I think that this strimmer is going to be tough to beat.
I think it's a workhorse, isn't it?
It's a real workhorse.
I think it's one of those pieces of kit that you just, you know, you're going to take out when you just want, you know, less work on yourself and you want the tool to really do all the heavy lifting for you. I think that this is kind of one of those, you know.
Definitely, and I just love the fact that you've got power in a unit that's battery operated.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got, it's portable, you can go anywhere you want to, you can cut whatever you want, whenever you want to. And the running costs are just so fantastic, because again, just recharging these batteries costs a couple of p, you know, per session. So once you've actually invested in the battery and you've committed to it, the running costs are really tough to beat.
Generally speaking, though, it's very exciting from a perspective that, you know, we are trying to be more of a sustainable lifestyle channel, and, you know, so we are always kind of looking at battery products. And, you know, when we started to look at battery products, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, what was on the market was just very underpowered and just not very exciting. And it's really come on leaps and bounds in literally a few years. And, you know, I've got to say, when you turn that on and whizzed around the front garden, I just thought that is probably even more powerful than anything that we've even plugged in, you know, as a battery piece of kit. It's really impressive, and the amount of power that they're putting into these batteries nowadays is really game changing.
And I think it's fantastic that the garden manufacturers have actually come out and put the money into developing battery packs for gardening equipment.
Yeah.
Because to address your earlier point, a lot of the stuff that was available was more tool manufacturers that were trying to use battery tools for like drills and stuff, and then trying to just push that into some sort of gardening equipment.
Yeah.
And so in order to keep the highest battery life, they had to underpower the tools a little bit.
Yeah.
But now you kind of fast forward 3 years and it's been a complete U-turn where you've actually got super fantastic, powerful tools with big batteries. And I think the actual batteries are not as heavy as I was thinking they'd be. So even if this battery that we used is, you know, if you want more battery life out of it, I think that putting in a battery that's maybe twice the size would still feel quite comfortable with this particular strimmer. Even though it's quite heavy to actually pick up and just walk around, just transporting it. I think once you've got it in your hand and you're strimming,
you're moving.
I still think it'll be quite good.
So other than safety glasses, I noticed that you were also wearing the the ear muffs, the ear protection.
I wore them because Stihl sent them to us to actually use with this trimmer. I've got to be honest, this is not the noisiest piece of gardening equipment we've used. I had it on for 1 or 2 sessions, but I don't think it actually warrants having the ear muffs.
Okay.
That's my own personal decision. We've got tools that are far noisier than that.
Yeah, you're not very sensitive on your hearing. In fact, sometimes you're a bit deaf. but I have much more acute hearing. I hear everything, and I'm quite sensitive to everything. But you know, and even I didn't find it uncomfortable. It was kind of, you know, you kind of run of the mill kind of noisy strimmer. It was just, you know, totally acceptable.
Definitely. I mean, I'm very comfortable using the ear muffs, and I just didn't think that this particular strimmer warranted it.
But you did think they were good, though.
The ear muffs are fantastic.
The Stihl ear muffs.
The noise cancellation, I mean, you can barely hear anything with them. I mean, I've used them with other tools, like I've said, that are noisy, and you know that they're noisy because you finish using them and your ears ring for a few, you know, for like 20 minutes, an hour afterwards. But when you put the actual ear muffs on, I mean, it's bliss. I mean, you kind of take them off and it's fantastic. And if anything, you've taken them off and everything just feels so much louder because everything's been so muffled for so long.
Wow.
But they are fantastic. They're really good. I hope that you have found this video useful and interesting. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button below.
You can also follow us on Instagram, and we've also got a blog where we do almost kind of daily or weekly updates on our blog and our Instagram. So please feel free to check that out as well. And we hope to see you on our next video. Thanks for watching. See you.